and to Mother Saraswati, Mother and to Srila Vyasdev. Nashtavrayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sati of Godhead. The spiritual master opened my eyes to all the light of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. This is our Srimad Bhagavatam class that we have every day. I see some of the new fresh faces here. If you'd like to introduce yourself to us.
Hare Krishna. My name is Sandeep, and I'm coming from Oakville for the first time here.
Okay.
It's a good experience.
Welcome. And you are?
Hare Krishna. I'm Ishvaradas from Israel. I try to visit you guys about once a year, so it's good to be here.
Okay, you can come twice a year sometimes. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Ishvaradas.
Ishvaradas. Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from 10th canto, 9th chapter, from 7th to 12th. We'll focus on verse 10. Before we begin, I'd like to pray to Srila Prabhupada to conduct this class somehow, because it was very last minute, and just when I was going through the topic, which is one of my favorites to talk about, became extremely nervous and emotional at the same time, because I saw my life's journey flashing right in front of me. And usually when I get emotional, I can't talk. So I don't know how will this happen, but already excuse me for the scattered class that it will be. From 7th. Would you like to read?
7. Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot, and when she saw the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna.
Krishna, at that time, was sitting on an upside-down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, was very cautiously approached him from behind.
When Lord Sri Krishna saw his mother's stick in hand, he very quickly got down from top of the mortar and began to play as if very much suffering. Although yogis tried claiming him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they failed to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality the Lord had Krishna to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him.
While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose, and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna.
Text 11. When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes. And as he rubbed his eyes with his hands, he smelled the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him.
Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed by intense love of Krishna, not knowing who Krishna was or how powerful he was. Because of material affection for Krishna, she never even cared to know who he was. Therefore, when she saw that her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and desired to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities.
Thank you. Verse 10.
Verse 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, that's tough. Anvarn chamana janani brihak chalag.
Anvarn chamana
Kroni bharakrata gati sumadhyama. Javena vishramsita kesha bandhana. Chuta prasunanu gati paramashrat. No repetition. You can do it.
I think it's his meter. Avanchamana Janani Brahatala. Okay, yeah, that's easier. That's easier. Can I go with that?
Yes, yes.
Avanchamana Janani Brahatala.
Avanchamana janani brihakchala.
Kroni prakranta gati sumadhyama.
Kroni bhanta.
Javena Vishramasita Kesha Bandhana.
Javena vishram sitakesha bandhana.
Chuta prasunanu gati paramashra.
Chutra sunan gati praramrshat.
Avanchamana janani brahachala.
Avanchamana Janani Brahatala. Kroni Bharakranta gati sumadhyama.
Javena vishram sitakesha bandhana.
Javena Vishramsita Kesha Bandhana.
Prashurnagati Paramshat.
Chuta Prasunana
Gati paramashrat.
Anvanchamana Janani Brahachala.
Anvanchamana janani brihakchala.
Kroni bharakranta gati sumadhyama.
Kroni
Bharakranta gati sumadhyama.
Javena Vishramsita Kesha Bandhana.
Javena Vishramsita Kesha Bandhana.
Fourth one. Last one.
So we have no people answer.
Chuta pras.
Prasuna paramsrat.
Chuta prasana nugati paramash. Avanchamana janani. Mhm.
Kroni Bharakranta gati sumadhyama.
Javena Vishramsita Kesha Bandhana.
Javena Vishramsita Kesha Bandhana.
Chuta prasan vanati paramshat.
Chuta prasana gati paramashrat. Say it.
Anvanchamana Janani Brahachala.
Anvanchamana janani brihakchala.
Kroni bharakranta gati sumadhyama.
Kroni Bharakranta gati sumadhyama.
Javena vishram sitakesha bandhana. Chuta prasana nugati. Can you scroll to the Hindi part? No, the verse of Sanskrit part. It's actually, it's not crony, it's shroni. Crony means something else in English. But you pronounce it correct actually, Kyle. Thank you. It's shroni, it's not crony.
I was right as well.
Sure, you're always. Okay, we'll go to word by word together.
Wait.
You can read.
Anvanchamana,
Anvanchamana.
following Krishna very swiftly.
Following Krishna very swiftly.
Janani,
Janani.
Mother Yashoda.
Mother
Brihad Chalaj Shroni Bharata Akranta Gati. Being overburdened by the weight of her large breasts. She became tired and had to reduce her speed. Sumadhyama. Because of her thin waist. Javena. Because of going very fast. Vishramsita. Kesha. Bandhana. From her arrangement of hair, which had become loosened. Chuta Prasuna. Anugati. She was followed by the flowers, falling after her. Paramashrit. Finally captured Krishna without fail. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Translation together. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breasts, actually had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose, and the flower in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son, Krishna. Can we give him a mic? I don't like for people who join online, they can't hear other people reading when we read purport. But if you can give him a second mic, I don't mind. You don't have it? Then it's okay. It's fine. Okay, read Prabhu. Amla Prabhu.
Yogis cannot capture Krishna by severe penances and austerities. But Mother Yashoda, despite all obstacles, was finally able to catch Krishna without difficulty. This is the difference between a yogi and a bhakta. Yogis cannot enter even the effulgence of Krishna. Yasya prabhavatu Jagat Ananda Koti Shu. Brahma Samhita 5:40. In that effulgence there are millions of universes. But yogis and jnanis cannot enter the effulgence even after many years of austerities. Whereas bhakta can capture Krishna simply by love and affection. This is the example shown here by Mother Yashoda. Krishna therefore confirms that if one wants to capture him, one must undertake devotional service. Bhaktya mama bijananti yavan yaschashmi tattvata tato mam tattvatu jnatva
Vishate tad anantaram.
Bhaktas enter even the planet of Krishna very easily. But the less intelligent yogis and jnanis, by their meditation, remain running after Krishna. Even if they enter Krishna's effulgence, they fall down.
What a dramatic ending. So, this is a philosophical discussion happening in the purport after a very sweet, right under a very sweet pastime. But that's how actually, if you'll observe, how many of you have ever written a poetry down, or pretty much everyone? Or even better relation would be music. If you've ever learned music, the outcome is very sweet and in harmony. But when you learn it, it sounds very mathematical, right? All these notes and the arrangement of notes. There's mathematics hidden underneath so much of sweetness. The similar is for poetry. And for anything in beautiful, you look at a flower, how pretty it looks. But if you look at the petals, how geometrically they're all symmetrical and everything. So if you'll observe anything that's beautiful, you'll find there's a logic underneath also. There's a whole realm of geometry underneath also. So somewhere it merges and perfectly fits in harmony. Why am I saying that? Is that in Bhagavatam also observed, is that so many beautiful pastimes and stories that we read which make us feel like awe. But then there is so much logic hidden underneath to uncover. And that's why you need to study these scriptures with the help of an authority who understand these logics. Otherwise you can't quite uncover them yourselves. Or you may misinterpret them, which is even worse. So all thanks to Prabhupada. I'm hoping that's half of the class already. Okay, actually, I'd like to. So, if you notice over here, Mother Yashoda is running after Krishna, and we read in the last verse. I mean, we were reading some verses together in line, where Mother Yashoda is running after Krishna with a stick, and Krishna is scared of the stick. Right? It's just like every other child would be scared, but that's the Lord of the universe, and that's where Kunti Maharani in her prayers in Bhagavatam's first canto, 8th chapter 31st verse. You don't have to go there, but Kunti Maharani says that fear personified is afraid of Krishna. Can you imagine? Like, if we're scared of someone, we're scared of them. But fear itself is scared of Krishna. And that Krishna is scared of that stick. Why? Because it's in the hand of a devotee. It's in the hand of someone who's totally surrendered themselves to the Lord. So again, there is some logic here, but there is some poetry also. Everything just perfectly mixed with each other. Confirmed. Background mellow music. I quote from that verse, Bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya, which is fear personified is afraid of you. So what we're getting to is, and we just read it in the purport together, is that there are different ways to try to progress on the spiritual path. There are ways of severe austerities and meditation, generally the path which is called the path of yoga. And then there's a path of devotion, which is generally called the path of bhakti. What we'll try to do here today is try to draw some parallels and a little bit of comparison, and then we'll see from Bhagavad Gita itself what is Lord Krishna saying about all these different things that are happening. So in Bhagavad Gita 6.26, maybe you want to pull that up, please. Krishna is saying, 6.26. So we go to the translation. From wherever the mind wanders, this is right. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Now, if you look at this specific process, which is mentioned only in this verse, it is followed by people who are on other spiritual paths also. There are people who are yogis, and they do the same. So then what are we doing different here? And why are they not on the same level as us? Prabhupada explains in the purport, and we can read it. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady, but a self-realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. One who controls the mind, and therefore the senses as well, is called Goswami or Swami. And one who is controlled by the mind is called Godasha, or the servant of the senses. A Goswami knows the standard of sense happiness. In transcendental sense happiness, the senses are engaged in the service of Rishikesh, or supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses called Krishna consciousness. That is the way of bringing the sense under full control. What is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. So yogis are also trying to do the same. As mentioned in the translation, this Bhagavad Gita verse, that they withdraw. They withdraw from their mind whenever it goes around and wanders here and there, and bring it back to the self. Bhaktas are trying to do the same also as per Krishna's instruction. But a key difference is that we're trying to bring it back to the Lord's name, which is essentially to the Lord, because name and Lord are not two different entities. Now, as simple as it sounds, how much of a difference can that make? I'll give you a little bit of a bite from my personal experience, and then maybe we'll try to, that will put on some perspective. But first, we're on a Bhagavad Gita marathon right now, so we'll go to the next verse. 6.27. Oh no, wait, we'll go at the end. That's the climax. Never mind. So if you look at the concepts from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Maharshi Patanjali is considered to be the father of modern day yoga. He compiled everything when it was pretty much lost, and he reintroduced it to the public. He describes the process of yoga as yoga sa chitta vritti nirodha. So there's different layers of our mind, and there's this one pure layer of our mind where no thought is essentially happening. It's just pure beingness of the mind, right? I want you to think about mangoes, Rajbalika Prabhu. Did you? So you just thought about mangoes. But when you were not thinking about mangoes, you still had a mind at that time, which did not have a thought about a mango. Imagine that mind to be devoid of any thought whatsoever. That pure mind, which is just perceiving this moment, is actually pure consciousness. It's not different from consciousness, but it's also mind. So that's where it kind of merges in between. But that's called chitta in the yogic terminology.
Can you explain it again?
Sure. So there's a part of our mind which is devoid of any thoughts. Or in other words, if you stop any thoughts running in your mind, then you experience just simply presence. And that is, in yogic terminology, is called chitta. Now, Maharishi Patanjali describes the process of yoga as yoga sa chitta vritti nirodha. That means that empty plate of chitta is covered by all these thoughts and anarthas from different lifetimes, and it's covered it, so you can't experience the pure beingness. So you follow the eightfold path of yoga and different methods, and all those anarthas and vrittis will be removed, and you can experience that pure beingness. That's the concept of yoga. Now, is that wrong? Not really. Krishna is talking about it throughout Bhagavad Gita. It's the same concept. Even the verse that we just saw together, he's still talking in similar lines about withdrawing our mind or ourself from the thinking mind and bringing back to the self. So where's the difference? The yogic concepts, they stop there. That's the end. Now you're experiencing this pure beingness, and now what? Well, that is peaceful. That is beyond peace even. That's very relaxing. But then there's no further concepts in that entire model. But bhakti yoga concepts go beyond it. It includes that. Actually, Srila Prabhupada describes it in a Bhagavad Gita lecture. I heard it myself in this room, that self-realization, and I'm not quoting him, that self-realization is about realizing that aham brahmasmi, which is I am also eternal Brahman, but I am an eternal servitor of Krishna. So it has two parts. One part is realizing that your nature is also eternal. It's very similar to Brahman. It's eternal. But then your nature is also to be a servant of Krishna. And that part, that second half, is missing in the yogic models, which is why they're not wrong, but they're incomplete. So what happens to a yogi? We read in the Srimad Bhagavatam verse, and we can go back to it, is Prabhupada is saying the yogi falls down. So even if a person who's attained to this pure beingness in their chitta, they stay there for, let's say, 10,000 years. In our experience, 10,000 years are different. In Brahma's experience, 10,000 years are totally different. In a mosquito's experience, the experience of time is very different. You know how long a mosquito lives?
2 days.
Maybe 2 days, 1 day. So do you think this mosquito has experienced that 1 day or 2 day as only 2 days? The poor guy will probably die out of anxiety. I only have 1 day to live. The mosquito, even though he or she, please listen to me, is living for a day or two, but that little jiva is experiencing that lifetime as a complete lifetime, right? Similar to us, we're experiencing this life of ours as a very complete lifetime, like a full life that we're living. But if you compare it with the life of Brahma and what Brahma is experiencing, it's just the experience of time on that realm, on that level it's very different, right? So even if a yogi who's very well situated in their chitta, in their pure beingness, in their experience it is true that they're there forever. So when they say that you're released from the cycles of birth and time forever, they're not telling a lie, because it feels like forever, right? But then in the larger scheme of things, it is not forever. Because in Brahma Samhita, and Prabhupada's mentioning in the purport, it's clearly said that after many years of austerities, in Brahma Samhita they're saying, essentially people fall down. Even people who try to merge into Brahman effulgence, they stay there pretty much hanging around, and then they fall down after some time. So should we go that path? Doesn't sound very sensible. But are those people who are on that path, are they like bad people, or how do we approach them when we go out to meet with them, when we talk to them? Because many of us, we go to yoga studios, we interact with different people. There's a certain sentiment we may carry in our hearts about them, that they're on a wrong path per se, which might be true, but what kind of sentiment should we have when we're looking at yoga? And even for ourselves, when we're trying to, even for health benefits, trying to do something like a Surya Namaskar, what should be our thoughts? The answer there lies in the purpose. Actually, if it's possible for you, Prabhu, can you pull up the translation of Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra? So as I was telling you, the yogic concepts stop at the chitta, which is pure presence. But what about Paramatma? And then what about Super Soul? It is said that, and Prabhupada has said, that God can be realized in three ways, on three different levels. One is on the Brahman level, the all-pervading Lord. Another is on the Paramatma level, who's situated in our heart. And the third is on the Bhagavan level, the Supreme Personality. Now, Monal Prabhu was sharing similarly in his class yesterday about what we were discussing, but I want to talk about around it, is that all those people who are trying to get to the Lord in an impersonal way, it's a natural thing for them to be, it's a natural tendency for us to feel like we're the controller of everything. That's where we're in this material world. So we should not have a sentiment of hatred or even thinking that they are wrong in any way towards them. In fact, you would be surprised, even after years of devotional service and bhakti, we have progressed for sure, but we might still be situated on a little bit impersonal level. How? If you go and pray to Krishna after doing anything wrong, Krishna will forgive me anyway because he's the Lord. He's complete. Why would he feel bad, right? So you commit a sin and an offense or do something inappropriate, and then you go to Krishna. No, anyway, he'll forgive. And then you move on with your life. Or, so basically, you're just treating him as an entity which is the same throughout, right? Which doesn't have its own emotions, which doesn't have its own feelings of reciprocation. Essentially, it doesn't have its own personality. It's just a space where you can ask things and you can get things from. What is that? That is impersonalism, right? It's devoid of personality. So there is this tendency among many people, even if they go to the temple and if they worship the Lord in the form of a vigraha, they're still, on a subtle level, treating the Lord, when we're doing our chanting and not paying attention, treating the Lord in a subtle way to be impersonal, not developing a personal relationship with Krishna. So impersonalism, that's what Prabhupada said, it's very difficult to perceive Lord. It's extremely rare on the level of Bhagavan. Brahman, we're all pretty much, we're thinking like we're not experiencing Krishna impersonally, but many times we are, treating him not as a person. So even we're having these little impersonal tendencies popping up in us here and there. And then Paramatma is the next, where I think Dhruva Maharaj is a good example, that he was meditating on the Paramatma level of Krishna within his heart for so long. And then Bhagavan revealed as is himself as Bhagavan also, because it's a progression. It's not a one thing versus another. And how can we see it here? Do we have the translation here? So Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra is, and we can chant it together. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Stop. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Now next part. Pay attention. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatharane. For those of you who don't know, this is our prayers that we offer to Srila Prabhupada every day. And translations that our respectful obeisances are unto you, spiritual master, servant of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. You kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. There is one word here that I want you to pay attention, delivering. Where else do we use this word? Amazon. I knew you would think of that. Online shopping, and so there's delivery that is happening of goods and purchases. There's another place where delivery happens. You work there, right? We deliver, I mean, not I, women deliver babies. Yeah, I can't do that. So these days, I believe you can do some adjustments, but I'm not interested, for the record. So delivering. When a baby gets delivered, is it like they suddenly pop out of a mother? They're under a gestation period within her womb, right? Within a mother, a baby is going through a full process where they're growing up, where they're developing certain features from a little, what is the first thing called? Zygote? Huh? I think from zygote it becomes fetus, and then further and further it becomes bigger and bigger on a material level, the body. And then ultimately a baby just pops out. Not exactly like that. Thank you for the sound effects. So there's a whole gestation period that baby goes through before delivery. Now, Srila Prabhupada's here to deliver the Western countries, and including India, from impersonalism and voidism. So that doesn't mean that there is no value in impersonalism and voidism either. Well, actually, if you look at it on a grand scale of things, there is no value in it, because ultimately it takes you away from Krishna and keeps you away from Krishna. But let's be fair to people who cannot just directly get there, because we haven't really come to that level of bhakti without mercy, right? It wasn't our doing for most of us. You have to get mercy from devotees to be there. Prahlad Maharaj mentions it in his prayers. That is the dust of lotus feet of devotees that gets you there. So Prabhupada is here to deliver. That means people are already in the gestation period. They're already people who are following different methods of yogas. They're in the path. So those yogis are also controlling their senses, withdrawing into the self. So they're practicing something which will be very helpful to them when they get to the path of bhakti. In fact, a person who's walked that path sincerely, I'm not talking about those people who are fake, who pretend to be yogis. Or even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita describes that a person who forcefully suppresses their senses and it's trying to portray to themselves and to the world as if they're controlling their senses is a foolish person. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people who are genuinely walking the path of yoga, and not bhakti yoga primarily. And they're sincere about that effort. Lord reciprocates to them also. Krishna wants to see them trying. And okay, you want to try it yourself? Sure. But when a moment comes when they're like, okay, what is it that's still missing? Even this sense of eternal peace that I'm experiencing in different levels of samadhi, and there's a word that I'm consciously using, samadhi, I'm still unsatisfied. When a yogi screams that from his heart, Lord reciprocates. Lord guides him to a devotee, to a kirtan sangha or something. The Supreme Personality of the Godhead guides them through his devotees. So if we go to, it makes it very clear if we go to Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Can read the verse together. Wait one sec.
Is it your favorite chapter?
It's very related to what we're discussing today. Yeah, you maybe want to recite it? Translation. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service unto me, is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. We accept your opinion, Krishna. Purport. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the word bhaj, which is used in need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore or to show respect. Service with love and faith, especially meant for Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshiping the respectable man or demigod, may be called discourteous. But one cannot avoid serving Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. Bhagavatam confirms it as follows. Nisham Purusham Na Bhajanti Avayanti. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. Okay, that's what I want to focus. Can you scroll down a bit? There's something that I read somewhere that... Oh yeah, it's this. Let's continue reading. Sorry. The culmination, we'll read. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in Bhakti Yoga. All of the yogas are but means to come to the point of Bhakti in Bhakti Yoga. Yoga actually means Bhakti Yoga. All of the yogas are progressions towards the destination of Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma Yoga without fruitive results is the beginning of this path. It's the beginning of this path. When Karma Yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called Jnana Yoga. When Jnana Yoga increases in meditation of the super soul by different physical processes, and the mind is on him, it's called Ashtanga Yoga, which is the eightfold path method given by Patanjali Maharshi. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga Yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, it is called Bhakti Yoga, the culmination. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name, Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, or Dhyana Yogi, Raja Yogi, Hatha Yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious, the highest state of yoga, just as when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. It is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shyama Sundara, who is as beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower garlanded, illuminating all sides in his gorgeous luster, which is called Brahma Jyotir. He incarnates in different forms such as Ram, Narasimha, Varaha, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he descends like a human being, as son of Mother Yashoda, is known as Krishna Govinda Vasudev. He's a perfect child, husband, friend, and master. He's full with all opulences, transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called highest yogi. This stage of perfection is yoga can be attained only by Bhakti Yoga. You can pause here. I know a lot of reading this morning, but here's the thing. I didn't want to say all these things in my own personal terminology. I only wanted to use what Prabhupada is talking about it. So, very clearly in this purport, Prabhupada has not abandoned other parts of yoga. He's not preaching to follow them either, but he's mentioning a few words. He's using the word culmination. He's using the word natural progression. Therefore, it's important when we approach people who are following other methods of yoga, we'll look at them as our family members who are yet to come to us. A little baby in the womb who's yet to be delivered. And we're always excited for babies who are going to come when someone in the family is pregnant. So a sense of excitement to see all these people. And we're not just talking about yogis who's trying to follow all these difficult yoga paths and methods. We're talking about who are into impersonalism and voidism. So in a way, they're better than materialists, but I'm putting all of them together in the same category. So even if you see anyone who's a living entity, no matter how much they're deluded or far away from bhakti, they are under a gestation period, waiting to be delivered. But they won't be delivered unless they get the mercy of devotees like you. And that, I don't know if it can happen or not, but I feel like it cannot happen without a certain love from your heart towards them also. It's just very important to remember that. Okay? That's pretty much the end of it. One little point before we take your questions or whatever is, what is the one key difference that you think? Actually, there are two. Now that we've read it all, between those people who are following different methods of yoga and between bhakti yogis. What's the key difference that you see? Because they're also withdrawing their senses and putting in their self. Krishna's asking us to do it also in a way. What's the key difference that you see now? The love. They might have a lot of love for themselves also. So?
It's so fun.
It's fun. They might find fun in their austerities in their own way.
Their goal is different.
The goal is different, yes, very close. Yes?
They are doing it for themselves.
and you Bhakta started doing for Krishna.
Krishna. Yes. And then what does that mean? How do you describe it in one word? A very simple word. We use it all the time.
They are service oriented.
Service. That's the core difference. The service mood, the service action, the service lifestyle. If I have to be honest, I promise to won't go over time, but there's something called samadhi that's considered to be the culmination of the Eightfold Path. One step before culmination, actually, before liberation. So there are different sorts of samadhis, bhava samadhis, nirvikalpa samadhis, this samadhis, that samadhis. They also experience these things, and people in deep states of japa also experience these things. Let me be frank with you. If you think you can avoid things like going into deep meditative states in japa, most of you will probably experience those things as your japa progresses further. But because you are a bhakta, you will remind yourself in that moment that it's about Krishna. And then perhaps you'll enter into leelas. But what I'm trying to say is the key differences of service. Because you could be in different samadhi states, deep meditative states, where you're just enjoying your own quality of bliss. Because you have that quality same as Krishna, Satchidananda, Ananda. You can be enjoying it. But if your mood is towards Krishna, is of service mood towards Krishna, that's a very key difference. Same experience, but it will make a world of difference in the experience also, if that at all makes sense. So with that, I'll just end it here. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. If anyone has a complaint, feedback, question, raise your hand.
Oftentimes I get confused between both of these terms. So impersonalism and voidism, and there are a lot of vads, like we know Nirvishesha or Mayavad, and then there is Shunyavad, then there is Sankhyavad. Would you be able to focus a little on these?
I don't think we have enough time, nor am I qualified. We should read from Prabhupada. I do have some understanding of it, but I have to tell you this. It's very safe to take Shunyavad, Mayavad, Sankhyavad, whatever Vad, and put it in a bracket which is turned away from Krishna, or in a bracket which is a service mood for themselves or no service mood. And there are these little minute details, for sure, among them. Like voidism is essentially about a concept where there is no concept of God whatsoever. Not an impersonal God or a personal God. That's voidism. That's primarily Buddhism and other different schools that are happening. So there the concept is that we're pretty much, the world is an illusion, and so is our experience. And we're pretty much an empty case of shell, and within us is a certain void. And once all this illusion is broken by going into deeper states of meditation, and that's why dhyana is very prominent in void paths, the paths of voidism. And then ultimately you get to that certain emptiness, and then you basically disappear because you don't even exist in the first place. Now, how can you deal with such a philosophy? Because you know you exist also. But then there are people who need to be moved from pure materialism to this, to that. They need to progress. So Lord Buddha is Krishna's incarnation only. He wouldn't introduce such a philosophy if it weren't be useful for some set of people. Right? And then impersonalism is where you treat divine or God is impersonal. It doesn't have a set of personality. There is something more than voidism, so it exists. It's not that it's completely void, it doesn't exist. But it's not a person. It doesn't reciprocate according to... So there's a less sense of responsibility to it. It's like pretty much like a wall. You throw a ball on a wall and it'll bounce back to you, right? And so it's just that. It's a very impersonal thing. But if the God is personal, that means you have to be very responsible. If they have a sense of personality, then the God also expects something from you to have a sweet relationship with them. And some people don't want to get to that responsible state, so naturally they tend to ignore more of it. So there are these little differences in all of these philosophies. Materialism is just considering that this world, and in fact, in one of the schools of Sanatana Dharma, there's something called, there was this Muni, I think his name was Charvaka. Have you heard of him? He gave a philosophy, Maharaj quotes him many times, of just enjoying life and eating ghee. Because ghee gives you that strength to enjoy life and to actually have a strong body for bhakti also. So the philosophy, that's one of the schools, is just that there's no God, there's no illusion, Maya, nothing, just enjoy and that's all. Eat ghee and enjoy. That's that also. That's materialism to a very pure extent. And this is also materialism, that I have only one life, let me enjoy and then leave. So these have finer little details and nuances and differences, but you can all put them together in a bracket, which essentially says that the God is not a personality, or is just not about Krishna. And of course, bhakti is just about Krishna. So there's these two sides. Any other comment? Question? Yes, Prabhu?
Me only, right?
Yeah.
So like, I don't have any question, but like, I really want to appreciate the more that you said in today's class. Like, especially no one will actually touch this point where like actually we need to respect the people who is doing other yoga. Okay, and they are like babies who has to come to Bhakti Yoga. So I never heard from anyone the way that you connected this point, and like the way you connected with Pranamanga is very, very amazing. I really like your class. Thank you very much.
It's Prabhupada's will. And you know what happens usually? Lord never abandons even those who've turned their face away. I only feel a lot for them also because I've lived that life. And I know that He never abandons. Even if you feel like you're everywhere, you're the Brahman. You can experience it by using certain methods for a good amount of years. It's real in experience, but Lord still doesn't abandon. Like, ha ha ha, play it. But what happens is, we look at the story where Ajamil's running away, Sudarshan Chakras, and Durvasa Muni offends who? Amrish Maharaj, who's a devotee of the Lord. And then Amrish Maharaj is very humble, but to protect Amrish Maharaj, Lord Vishnu, Sri Hari Vishnu, sends a Sudarshan Chakra after Durvasa Muni. And we're always laughing at Durvasa Muni, look at all this yogi, he's failing now. But where is Durvasa Muni ultimately running away to? Where does he reach? To Vaikuntha. Don't you see the mercy behind it? If the Lord had abandoned Durvasa Muni, you think anyone can enter Vaikuntha without Vishnu's desire? So that's a game he plays. Those who can come directly, they'll experience the love of the God, and which is the highest. Therefore, you should do it. But those who are not willing to, like Kamsa also, either directly or through different lifetime, will perhaps get there. But then he will miss out on the love. That's why it's the highest. Okay. They're all our babies, but we're not their parents. It's Krishna. Okay? Hare Krishna.